great privilege of introducing Pearl Harris tonight. Pearl, who is a cultural coordinator at Chemainus First Nation and has been a hero to me over the past some years, in some ways guiding the way for building the relationship between the town of Ladysmith and the Chemainus First Nation. Pearl's mother was Chemainus First Nation from the Sampson family, and her father is of Nanaimo First Nation descent, the Thomas family. Pearl has lived in the Chemainus territory for most of her life, in Ladysmith here as a young lady, then moving into the Chemainus First Nation territory or community after she married her husband Dean Harris, who is Chemainus First Nation. Please welcome Pearl Harris.
My story I plan on telling tonight is based on the history of my life here in Ladysmith. They say that the theme is community to belong. So the reason I'm telling you this story is because I'm proud to say I belong to this community of Ladysmith town basically all my life. My father was from Nanaimo, and my mother is from the Sampson family. And my mother and father broke up when I was a baby. So my mother, the reason I'm telling you about my mother, she broke all the traditions and all the rules because of her being a woman. She changed a lot of things that are for her daughters. And in doing that, she had the help of the town of Ladysmith. There's some people who had made a lot of changes for us. And I lived in Ladysmith as a young girl because of the help we received from the town people of Ladysmith. So Samawit is my mother, and she was born on a fishing boat in Steveston. Our people traveled a lot. They traveled to gather food, hunting. So in order to survive, there was no such thing as going out to McDonald's or going off to the restaurant, or, we had to, my mother says we had to find our food. We had to go out there and get our food. She says, and it was wonderful because they would get ready and go fishing. My grandmother, her mother would go fishing, and she was pregnant with my mom, and my mom gave birth to my mother in Steveston. And my mother said, my life was tough, but we survived and we worked hard. We had calluses, and she says, when she married my father, they did a lot of planting food and harvesting the vegetables and potatoes and whatever they had to, whatever that would grow, she says, they planted it. But my mom was married at 14 to her first husband. It was a traditional marriage. They arranged the marriage. She says, one day I had no idea what was going on. I'm 14 years old. My mom was busy cooking, pots are on the stove. And she says, my sisters are helping. She says, and I'm in the room. They sent me in a room to tidy up the bedrooms. She said, I was making beds and it was all a scheme to keep me out of the way. She says, so they were preparing for her wedding. She had no idea she was getting married that day. She says, I was helping out, and then finally, she says, I've never changed. I always ask questions. And she says, that's where I got my ways too, is I always ask questions. And she says, you're so much like me. She says, but she says, she went and asked her mom, what's going on? What's going on? And my mom told her, my grandmother told her, oh, we're just going to have a gathering today, and people are coming into the yard and they're leaving all these gifts in the yard, pots. She says, whatever you need to move into a new home and start a new life. She says, all these things are coming out. She's looking out. She says, what's going on, Mom? And she says, you just, never mind. They're speaking our language, of course, and she's telling my mom to mind her own business. You go in the room and you put on that dress. She says, there's a dress on your bed. So my mother, she goes in the room and she looks and here's this beautiful dress. Put it on, she said, it was nice, it was new, my grandma, she says, Mom just made it for me. And she put it on, and then her sister's there, Maggie, who's her closest sister. You know, you always have one sibling that you get along with really well, and the others she says, you just don't get along with. This is the one I got along with, she said. So she says, my Auntie Maggie and her are talking. I said, well, what's going on today? And then Auntie Maggie looked at her and said, you're going to be married to me. And Mom said, no way, I'm not getting married. And it just happened, the window was broken in her bedroom. It was just a sack on there, and Mom says, I was told I'm going to run away. I'm going to climb through that window, and you can come and bring me food. I'm going to go hide. She says, and right away my auntie says, you can't do that. If you run away, that means I'll be getting married. So my mom says, my auntie says, well, I'll go and get you some water. She left and she went running and told my grandmother, Sarah's going to run away. She said, and my grandmother went running, got two ladies and brought those two ladies in the bedroom to guard my mother. You're not running away. She says, and my Auntie Maggie was telling her, sorry sister, but I'm not ready to take your place. She said, I'm not going to marry this man. And she had no idea who she was marrying. She said there was no meeting each other until this day. She says, so she says that the wedding went on. She said, I left with the guy. I left with him. His name was Alec. She says, we got married that day. She says, I started my life with him. She says, I was with him. We had 2 children. And one day he just said, I'm going out. I'm going to go to Nanaimo. And they were living down Tweed. I'm going to Nanaimo. He got on the boat and he left. Never returned. He took off, ran away. She says, and I had to stay there. She says, I had to live with his parents. No one come back for me for a long time. I don't know what time was then, I don't know what calendars were or weeks, but I knew I was there for quite some time. She says, and I had to live, she called his parents the old people. So I had to live with the old people. I had to stay there until my father finally found out somehow. She said, we didn't have telephones or anything. Because my dad found out and he came and got me. And in that time, she says, all the gifts had to be returned. Everything that was there, my father, she says, my dad had to put up a big potlatch and had to give gifts to everyone. And she says, we gave out everything, blankets, pots, whatever we could find, we went and gave them away, just so that my dad could take me back. She says, when he got her back and brought her home, she was pregnant with my brother. She already had my sister, Rose. She says, I had your sister, but I was pregnant with your brother. So the old people, the in-laws said, when that baby's born, if it's a boy, he's ours. You can't keep him. So she says, when your brother was born, they came and they got him. And I said to her, well, how could they find out when Grandpa couldn't find out that you were alone? How could they find out so fast? She says, they were always around. They were out there just snoopy and nosy. They were always there. She said, checking up on her, making sure that she was okay, and she had food and everything. So they did feed me. She says they did look after me because I was carrying this child that was belonging to them. She says the old lady said it's a boy and we want the boy. So my mother gave birth to my brother, and they came and took him away. And my mom said I didn't see him again for quite some time. She says, but the in-laws were always letting her know he was okay, but they gave him away. So she says, I've never seen him again. They sent him off to another family member. She says she never got to see her son. And she says after that, her dad was going to arrange another marriage. Mom said, no, I'm not getting married again, and she took off.